This is UMBC Careers Unleashed, where we unleash stories, insights, and expertise to support you on your career journey. Let's dive in.
What's up, Retrievers? We are here. We, meaning me and Mary Kate. Say hey, Mary Kate.
Hey.
Well, don't say hey, Mary Kate, right? Because then you'd be talking to yourself. But, say hey to the folks, Mary Kate.
Hey, everybody.
Yes, we are here with another episode of UMBC Careers Unleashed. And today, we got the big one.
We're going all in with it.
We're going all in. Today, we are unleashing the Career Center.
All of it.
The whole thing. I feel like, you know what? Wait a minute. I just had an image flash before my eyes. You know how, like, at the beginning of a company or a business opening, that they cut the red tape?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the doors are open.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man. I feel like I wish we could cut some red tape. Like,
So we're cutting red tape, but instead of you coming in,
we're
coming
out.
out.
Hey, I'm coming out. I want the world to know we are coming out.
I think we're going to have a separate podcast of you like singing and everything. It's so fun.
I have no idea what that's going to be. I think I missed my calling.
Maybe.
I need like some vocal. I don't know. Anywho, we are unleashing the Career Center.
Let's do it.
And so with that, we have a career controversy. Now, this is, for those who don't know what the career controversy is, it is a hot take, but inside of the career development space. So here's my question to you, Mary Kate. Does a student, alumni, individual have to directly engage with the Career Center in some way? Like whether it be an appointment, come into a workshop, or like an industry event, like maybe a career fair or a boutique fair, like where we have like just one company or something like that. Do they have to engage with us directly in order to get value from the Career Center?
I think in the
Let me sit back for this one.
What do I think? In the past, my answer would probably be yes.
Okay.
Now, and given how much the Career Center actually has accessible online and able to engage with on your own in terms of content, in terms of resources, assessment tools, things that are happening out beyond our walls, right? My hot take would be, and maybe controversial, but no, I don't think students need to physically come here or physically go to any of our events to learn what you could learn by coming here.
Okay.
Can I put a little asterisk on that?
Put anything you want. This is you talking now.
So I say that though to say, if we're going to go to that phrase a lot, I say that to say though, there is huge value in engaging with the Career Center live, like in the things that are being offered in a one-on-one appointment, in a career fair, or an employer event, all the things that we put so much time and energy into bringing to campus so students have better access, right, to opportunities, and just more opportunities in general. There is so much value to that.
Well, I'm glad you put that little asterisk because at first your response was giving AI is getting ready to take over the world.
No.
Like, we don't even need people anymore.
That's not true. That's not what I meant.
And I mean here, okay, so, and this is, me, I am a social scientist. That is my background, right? I was a sociology major in undergrad, and then I got a master's degree in human services, right? But like in the arena of like counseling. So that's my vibe.
Yes.
But you often educate me on the world of business, right? Because that's your education background. And you always talk to me about, well, how do we scale it?
I do say that a lot.
Because what is the data saying? How do we scale it?
I sound so annoying.
No, that is my exaggerated Mary Kate experience. But I get the opportunity to sit with you in a lot of different spaces, right? If we got, let's say, 18 people, and then there is, I don't know what, 20,000 students.
Yeah, same number. It was 14,000.
14,000.
14,000,
okay.
including undergrad and graduate.
Okay. Okay, so 14,000 students total. Thank you,
Mhm.
fact checker Judson off the
Yes.
camera, aka also producer,
He does a lot.
aka resident Gen Zer. It's got a lot of
A lot of
different
hats.
roles in the space. Like, how do we do that?
Yeah, how are we going to reach 14,000 students with a staff of 15, maybe
Right.
18 with students, right? It's not possible. So that's where I come from in my annoying comments of how are we going to scale? How do we reach everybody, right?
Yes.
If we're really here to serve all students, UMBC has a very diverse population in terms of how much they're able to engage, period, across campus. So I see this podcast and I see a lot of our other like online and virtual resources and other, video content, our social media, ways for us to be where students are so that they can actually move the needle in their career journey if there's a barrier for them to actually come physically to any of our opportunities.
That is so loving. That is so loving. And that is, the way that I like to say it, that is really giving Little Mermaid. I want to be where the people are.
I want to be
Okay.
where the people are.
And so with that, you've said a couple of things, right? So let's like plug it, right? We have a Instagram page, right? And it's at UMBC Careers, right? So we're on Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn, UMBC Career Center. You can find us there.
Yeah,
you can Google UMBC Career Center, and then you can find our webpage, right? So you have just kind of like,
Yeah.
you are, I want to give you a standing ovation. You have cut the red tape.
Well, we're in the process of all
Okay.
of this and doing this better. And like, I am really interested in hearing from students, like part of doing this podcast too is like, tell us what you need. Ask us the questions that you want to know. We'll answer them. We'll comment back, we'll make sure that you have the information you need to be successful. So, I mean, thank you for saying that, but that is like a core thing in mine. This is what keeps me motivated to like power through with us learning this.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I don't want to be like, oh, Mary Kate is the only one.
Yeah.
You are our last hope. What?
No.
What's the movie?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Oh
you
my
know
gosh.
it. Yes.
Thanks,
Yes.
Jessica.
Yes.
You're my only hope.
Last hope.
Yes, you are our last hope. But I
That's
mean,
not the
really, I thank you for kind of like pushing the envelope in this way and making me at least, like, how do we scale? You're not, you can love everybody, but you can't hug the whole university if you stretch your arms out. Like, you maybe get 3-4 people in there, right? But you can't, grab everybody. And so we want to engage with them in all the ways that are possible.
For
So,
sure.
hot take. And where do I stand on this?
Yeah, where do you stand? Because I mean, there's a huge value to engaging in person, of course. Do you think we can provide the same value?
You know what? I think I am in transition right now before your very eyes.
Okay.
And just to tell it, before we came into this episode, I initially wanted to frame it a different way. And you were like, no, Stephanie, I don't think that we're going to be able to, we don't want to do it that way. And I had to grow in that moment, not because I was unwilling, but because I was ignorant. I was underinformed. And so right now I think I am transitioning. I am growing right before your eyes. And I'm going to say that very much in reflection to what you said, that in order for you to get value from the Career Center, you do not necessarily have to engage with us directly. But for maximum value, if you have the time and what you are approaching in your next step of your career journey is very pivotal and important, that you might want to find the time. So I think that in order to get value, no, you do not have to engage with us directly. But for maximum value, or if you are in a place where you need some individual and tailored support.
Some students will value those pieces more than others, right? And we want to be able to offer a diverse way to engage, to reach all different types of students and how you all want to engage. So I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we said so much to say nothing. It's like, no, you don't have to come, but you have to come. No, you don't have to come. We want to come to you, but if you come to us, that's what we really want.
I think it's the options.
It is. And making ourselves, and that's what we're hoping to do. And we are available, not making ourselves. We are available in so many different spaces, social media, on the internet.
And in person.
We're everywhere. We're like Visa, everywhere you want to be. So in the same vein, right, of unleashing the Career Center, because we're out there now. Yeah. We're like oxygen. I have another song. Like, what is the song? The Pocahontas.
Oh, Colors of the Wind.
Colors of the Wind. We are blowing in the wind. We are blowing in the wind.
That's an actual song, Blowing in the Wind.
Oh, even when I don't want to sing or be a part of it, I'm just there. Yeah. So let's just kind of go through some of the Career Center appointments. We're going to do it quick. It's going to be like rapid fire.
And hopefully if you guys can engage with us with the appointments, right? Like, awesome. You'll get an inside look of like what to expect when you're coming, but hopefully we can provide you a little bit of like places to start. If these are topics that you want to start thinking about on your own and don't have the time to come to us to talk about yet, you can start thinking about some of these things.
So and I'm just running through our appointment types, right? Okay. Like I'm on Handshake, which is where you make appointments, or you can make appointments. It's a good place to make appointments. I'm literally on there. I am literally looking at the student view and we are going to just kind of like run it down. Okay. Right. And so the very first one, the most prominent one, everybody, what did we say in our very first episode? Resume. Right. So our very first appointment type is the resume review. Yeah. So like we're going where the people are. Okay. But if they were to come in, like how does your resume review appointment go?
Yeah, I think it's also important to say like we both offer different resume appointments, right? Like my team's offering the 30-minute slots, Stephanie's team's offering an hour-long appointment. So the structure of it all can go a little bit differently because you have a little bit more time, right? In terms of how you're talking about resumes. For us, 30 minutes is really quick. Okay. So when a student comes in for a resume appointment, I usually ask them, well, one, to share with me their resume so I can take a look at it if they haven't shared it with me beforehand. And then I will always ask first, like, who is your intended audience? Okay. Right. Like, what is it that you are interested in? Who's going to be seeing this? What do you want to do with your life? Like it comes to almost those discovery questions a little bit in that first 5 minutes of our conversation. And usually some students come in with very specific ideas. Like I'm applying for this specific job. Like this is what I need it for. Let's make it for that job. Other students will come in and say, you know, I'm really interested in these buckets of interest. Or like I'm really interested in digital marketing space, but I really also like some of my graphic design work, right? And I don't know how they overlap. Or, you know, I've had experience in sales and retail before, and I know I'm good at that. So maybe I'll go that route moving forward too. And that's okay, right? So depending on the response, I'll go from there.
So you're saying that depending on who their audience is will determine how their resume should look.
Yes. So depending on their audience, and then so if there's multiple buckets, usually that comes to a quick conversation of there may be a couple different versions of your resume that you'll have. Okay. Let's talk about one of them today, right? And then we lean into the one that is prioritized first. And then when I take a look at it, I mean, there's some quick things we'll look through in terms of like a formatting or like how it's structured with the lens of that audience though. Okay. So what's this audience looking for in this particular job or in their industry in general? Are you highlighting those skills and interests in the best way for them to digest it, right? So a lot of the recommendations that come through in this appointment is very individualized. It's very personalized for each student, depending on where they're going. So then I'll recommend how to word some things a little differently, or if we shift sections around depending on which experiences are more prominent or important for their area of interest.
I got you.
But what I really love about the resume appointments is that if we can get past the quick formatting of it all, like I'll refer our career guide really quickly for something like that, because I want to spend the most time with them on how would you describe what you've done, what you learned, what's the skill that you've gained. So what did I do? How did I do it? Who did I do it with? And what was the result?
So you are big picture, and you're trying to say, what are you trying to communicate on this paper? Got you. Now, I'm going to add some context, and listen, I'm moving things around on the screen. The career guide, and I just want pause.
Hey, it's new. It looks great.
2024 has really lifted me to the next place, okay? Because we've launched the career podcast. I don't know when folks will be watching this. Maybe you're watching it in post 2024 times, but it was launched in 2024. And then your friend is on the 2024-2025 career guide.
Oh yes,
I am here.
You
Okay,
look great.
but this is the career guide right here. Now you can get access to this actual book, right? If you want a hard copy, you can come to the Career Center. But if you want to engage with it from where you are, they can get it on Handshake.
Yeah, I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah, we can link it in the show notes too. That's great. Thank you for that. Or they can Google UMBC Career Guide. Yeah. Right? Like, because I don't know, maybe in 2026 the link won't work. I don't know how that works. So, but UMBC Career Guide, Google it. In there are sample resumes. Yeah. And I think that they convey more than just structure.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like that because we try our very best, right? Our team works really diligently to try, our very best to make sure that we have a variety of different kinds, whether it's broken out by major or where you are in life. Like there's a military sample resume, there's an experienced sample resume, there's some support for a similar document called a CV. It doesn't have a sample CV in there, but it has instructions on how to do that. And it also has that for cover letters too, like how to a sample cover letter and like how to structure it. Yeah. So sometimes, like if you're a biology major, looking at the sample science, that's what it's called in there, the sample science resume, it's like, oh yeah, I do have these skills. Yeah. Oh yeah, I do have that. So I definitely think that using the actual hard tool. Another thing that I like for the resume appointments is I like to teach people to take the job description or 2 or 3 job descriptions that like jobs that they're or internships that they're actually interested in. Yeah. Reading the job description, and then here we get into the AI of it all, honey. Plug those job descriptions into your preferred AI, ChatGPT, Meta, I don't know all the ones, and say, what are the top skills? And now I need to make sure that my resume reflects and speaks to those skills. Yeah. So that's it in short for me. It's like, yes, big picture. You do want to think about what it is that you want to communicate because that is ultimately the thing. But like if you just need those little fine tuning things, the career guide, and then the AI of it all. Okay. All right. Let's skip on down to, and we touched on it a little bit, but it might be a little bit different. Let's talk about the cover letter appointment, the cover letter reviews.
Yeah. How do you approach that?
Well, cover letter reviews require reading. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm reading on camera or with a student, and I'm reading their words back to them. It's like, you know what it says.
I have a love-hate relationship with cover letters in general.
No.
We can talk about that another time.
I know. Since we're talking about it, let's talk about it. I feel like that cover letters are the part of your application that is the better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And it is like, in my mind, as a student, it's like the difference between a B+ and an A-. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it is like that last stretch where if you want to be stellar, right, or the A- to the A+, or a B to an A, however, but that last little stretch that just it's like makes it stellar. That's how I feel about the cover letter,
Yeah, and with the world of AI now though too, it's an opportunity to like even add more context and keywords and storytelling to the job, like to relate to the job description too, because it is scanning cover letters just as much as it's scanning resumes. So
That's true.
something to think about if you're debating whether or not you should send it in or not, right? But when students come in for these appointments, right, it's mostly, there is more of like a grammar formatting type of conversation that comes along with it sometimes. But what I really like to get to the quickest, because, you know, AI makes that really easy now, is the formatting side. But what they have maybe will struggle with a little more, that a human can give you a little bit more oomph with, is having you think about your why. So like, why is it that you, for everything, right? Like, why is it that you chose your major? Why is it that you chose to pursue that first internship, or pursue that part-time job, or take that class, or be in that team project, right? Whatever it is. Like, why did you do it? And what was the result of that? Like, what was the impact that that made on you, and how it's prepared you for that person you're sending that cover letter to. So that's tough with AI to get to, especially if you don't have it in your original draft. So sometimes it's really nice to talk it through with somebody and just like figure out like, okay, here are the pieces that are driving me to apply to this particular place. How do I incorporate that within this document? That's usually where I go in a cover letter conversation.
I got you.
What about you?
I think I use the structure of the cover letter to help them understand what the purpose is.
Yeah.
So first part of the cover letter is the introduction, right? That is the most formal part, where you express your interest in the position, and then you tell them why, in short, right, your thesis, you believe you would be a good fit for that, right? So you talk about some of your strengths. Then I push down into those supporting paragraphs, and from my perspective, the supporting paragraphs are an opportunity for you to, right, if the resume is just giving you like the high level details, for you to zoom in on a few of them.
Yes.
Right, where it's like now you go from the aerial view to, like, you know, if I say, for example, on my resume that I get the opportunity to have over 100 appointments with students annually, you know, then I might in my cover letter say, you know, while I was the assistant director for career development at UMBC, I got the opportunity to meet with a variety of different students. But one of my favorite opportunities are supporting students who are neurodiverse, you know, because I think that there is a, and I don't know if the word is stigma, but there is a like, challenge or hurdle where people who maybe are experiencing a disability or identify as having a disability, and they feel like, you know, and this is, and I'm telling you my words, but I would probably be more concise, but this is the point that I would zoom in on, is that I really enjoy supporting students who are neurodiverse. And then I could talk about, you know, some of the things specifically that I've done to support the neurodiverse student community at UMBC. So I might say high level that I get the opportunity to support over 100 students annually
on your
in
resume.
my resume. But then on the cover letter, I'm zooming in and talking about a particular population of students that I like to serve.
More of like the story behind
Exactly.
it.
It's the detail. It's the little granular pieces. And then at the end, this is like the grand finale. This is like where you sell it, you know, and you tell them that based on all of these things that are true about me, based on, you know, all of the things that I've shared with you and more, I think you should bring me in for an interview, you know, because we can discover and kind of uncover more. So those are the things that I think you introduce, you share the details, and then you sell yourself towards getting an
I'd be
interview.
grateful for an opportunity to discuss this further.
You need me as much as I need you.
You can go all in with that.
No, but seriously, and I'm saying that because I had a conversation actually just last night with a friend of mine who is concerned about the stability of like their work going forward. And so they were thinking of a creative way for them to kind of pivot. And they were like, I'm going to pitch a job to a famous person that I know because they have the money to give me a job in case something goes. And they got some coaching, and the coach was saying, you need to think about the fact that you are just being yourself a value add. And so I think that sometimes we come from a certain perspective, but I want to encourage people that if you are good at something, which you are, that you are a value add.
I mean, that's how I got my second job out of college, right? I went and I pitched myself to this contact that I, through the grapevine, got introduced to. And I was like, this is what I can bring. This is why I'd be great. I
Yeah.
know you don't have this position currently, but this is why I think you need this position. And I mean, that ended up working out. They hired me
Walking
for
cover
it.
letter. You were a walking
Yeah, it was a
cover.
walking cover letter.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
still
That's so
apply,
many
but-
things. Maybe not a walking cover letter. That was like you unleashing networking.
That too.
You are like
For
a master
another
networker.
day.
Okay, so and we have so many different appointment types. So maybe we'll skip
go
it.
through.
But there's a one for a personal statement review, which is really
Yeah.
similar to the cover letter, right? It's where we're working on like helping you to structure your cover letter. I mean, not cover letter, your personal statement. It's a little bit of like that grammar, writing piece of it, but then we're helping you to think big picture, and we're trying to extrapolate from them,
Right.
like what uniquely they can say.
Mm-hmm.
To
Are
whomever.
you finding, because you do most of the appointments for personal statements for graduate school, my
Yeah.
team does the ones that are not graduate school related, which are kind of
Oh,
few
well,
and
when
far
do-
between.
Yeah, but to say, when
I
do
don't
you
know.
need a personal statement if you're not applying for school somewhere?
Well, there is some like social services type
Oh,
roles that
okay.
want extra context. That it really blurs the line with cover letter, but they call them personal statements, and you can get like much deeper. Or there's a prompt that's given to answer in addition to your resume and cover letter. And that kind of falls under personal statements too. So if there isn't a prompt, I mean, are you finding there are prompts with the graduate school ones, and you have to structure it within?
There are prompts, definitely. But then sometimes there's not, and then I have like a little thing that I can send to folks. I walk them through it in the appointment, but then as a recap, I will send it to them in an email, the like personal statement guidelines.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's in here too, right? The career guide. Personal
there is a resource for it in there. I'm the creative. You know what? I should share my
Maybe we can link that in the show notes.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot of resources linked here for you to use and run with if you're at that
because
point.
we're
unleashing it.
we're just out there.
Yeah, we'll make it all available.
Okay, so now, we'll do these together because you and I, we do different ones, but like internship and job search strategies or like research.
For research for opportunities.
Doesn't that sound weird? Research search
Research and
strategies.
search. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like job, internship, research. Like when you're trying to find those opportunities, how do you approach that? Like search strategies.
Mostly whenever I'll walk you through like how the conversation usually goes and some things to think about. So when a student walks in with that particular topic, I open it up first to ask them, well, what have you done? Is there anything that comes to mind that people have told you through the grapevine that you should do? Right. And then is there anything holding you back? Like what barriers have you found to like actually go and approach and search? Like what's holding back? So we start there. So those are some things you can think about right off the bat. And then my go-to is usually LinkedIn.
Me too.
Is that your
Okay,
go-to?
and
because I wrap up networking is a search strategy.
Okay.
So that appointment type conversation blurs a lot. So in terms of how I would walk a student through utilizing LinkedIn to not only learn about opportunities and find jobs, but actually learning about opportunities and finding jobs through alumni or through people, which I think you've talked about before on this podcast. So that's all looped into search strategy for me. And I do walk through like prioritizing applying on the company website first, reaching out to at least 2 people from that organization, ideally prior to applying, because some companies have incentives for their employees to refer candidates and they get a stipend if you get hired. And ideally, in an ideal timeline world, you would be able to talk to somebody at that place who might be able to vouch for your application and refer you. So that's part of it as well, in terms of like an ideal strategy. And then how to reach out, how to get a great response from people that you haven't met yet, you don't know, right? It's that extension of your first degree network. To ultimately learn about more opportunities, get referred to more people, to hopefully open more doors to opportunities that might not even be posted. So that's like unlocking that hidden job market as much as it is finding opportunities that are posted.
Got you. Listen, I want to tell you a secret. I feel like that this, I know, a secret on the podcast, right? Except everybody who watches the podcast is going to know the secret. This is the like sagiest episode so far. You know what we should do? We need to have a podcast slang word bank. We need one because we use so much slang on here. And if you just engage with us like on one episode, they're gonna be like, I'm like, oh my goodness, Mary Kate, that is so sagey. Or getting into the briefcase. Like people are not gonna know. Okay, so this is a plug for other episodes, right? Like if you don't know what it means to get into your briefcase, then I think you need to watch your proverbial, actually no, your literal one, your actual. No, but if you don't know what that means, then they need to go and check the the interview podcast, right? That episode, unleashing the interview, right? So, but we need that. Yeah. So anyway, this episode is really sagey. You are giving some top-notch sage advice.
I'm the
here.
Sage.
You
Awesome.
Welcome to the
You've
sage.
been the sage this time.
Welcome
it's
to
great.
the sage corner. I feel like you said it pretty much all, right?
Awesome.
Like there. Like I don't need to add anything. I mean, LinkedIn, right, is definitely if there were like a central space. Other job search sites, of course, you know,
Handshake.
Indeed, Handshake. Googling, you know, all of those things. And I think that this is, to me, you like to and feel encouraged, and I'm so proud of you for this, and it is rubbing off on me at this very moment that I matter. Right? Like that if I say something to somebody, if I send them a message, that I matter. Yeah. And I think that that has been a barrier for me to date. I watched earlier this week, we got a visit from a member from the General Assembly, the Maryland General Assembly, and also our esteemed president. You know, and they were walking through, and our director said my name to them. And I felt so small in that moment, you know? And then our director, Christine Roughton, she mentioned the podcast. And I said, you know what? They might remember that, you know? And so I'm just saying that in this moment, I am encouraged. And I want somebody else to be encouraged that you matter. And I'm saying that in this job search strategy portion, because sometimes we feel small in the job search. Yeah, for sure. And if I send a message on LinkedIn to somebody who I don't know or I know loosely, I still matter, you know? And so that is to be encouraged. When you are hitting send and you apply for that job, remember, if it takes a long time or you never hear back from them, you still matter. I just want to like put a pin in that you really did that for me in this moment. Here's the one I want to like kind of center us in on. Okay. Right? And this is the interview. Now, we did an episode on Unleashing the Interview already, but like if I were coming to you and I have an interview, you know, in the upcoming near future, and I needed some prep, you know, aside from the practice interview, because we do that, not the practice interview where we role play, but like if I needed some support because I'm like, I'm feeling chaotic. Yeah. I'm all over the place.
I think it's interesting that you said besides the prep, because the practice. I also integrate that into that other appointment, even if it's just one question. Yeah. And it's mostly to just like
really unleash
those nerves, like get them gone, like throw the nerves away. Like you are just in conversation with me. I will slip it in so naturally. Yeah. Some students won't even realize that it was an interview question that I'm asking for an answer for. And then I'll be like, you know what? You just answered that. Like, and you were so nervous before, right? And that's exactly what you say. And that kind of realizing like, oh, I can just be myself through this and answer honestly, at least for those initial questions, right? Like kind of brings down the nerves a little, because a lot of those appointments come in with nerves in terms of like, I need to be very prepared. And it is very helpful to be prepared for confidence, but preparedness sometimes can, you maybe mentioned it before too, like cause a lot of anxiety and maybe hold people back from actually being themselves a little bit more. So sometimes, so when you come into an appointment like that, like thinking through, like, what would I say about myself, but not overthinking. So that's where it's beneficial, I think, to have that in person, or at least somebody in your life to just like spitball with and say, you know, this is how I would like open up this conversation. What do you think? You know, that can give you a lot. So even those kinds of, I do bring in the practice despite just it being an appointment about tips. Because you can go to ChatGPT and get tips.
Or get, like, you can go to ChatGPT and get the sample interview questions.
Yeah, the sample interview questions, exactly.
Or they can go to the other episode, Unleashing the Interview, and they can watch a more intimate episode. But I'm going to tell you a more intimate episode on interviews while you were talking to me.
Okay,
now, you know, I am like music lyrics and movie scenes. I saw there's a movie. It's called Facing the Giants, which is like about it's like based around football or whatever. And in it, while you were talking, I could see your coach light bulb just like shot. It's so bright. So in this movie, the episode Facing the Giants, the coach wanted to encourage one of the players to see, you know, to encourage them.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: they were saying what they couldn't do. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough to do that. You know, all of these things. So what they did was they took that player who was feeling nervous and insecure about themselves and their ability to do something, and they blindfolded them. And then they made them get down on the like bear crawl kind of like position. You know, that's like the football drill where you bear crawl across the field or whatever. And so then it was like another player on the team. He said, now you get down in this bear crawl position. And then he instructed another one of the teammates to get on his back. So now they're strapped together.
Okay.
And he's like, all right, whatever the person's name is. And he was like, this is your brother. This is your teammate. And I need you to carry him, you know, across this thing or whatever. So the guy starts bear crawling with the blindfold. He doesn't know where he is. And the coach is standing there beside him. And he's like, I'm shaking. I'm going to fall. He's like, don't you fall. Don't you quit. Don't you. Da, 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 da. You know, and he's like being very animated because it's a football scene. But he is, at first, you know, he's doing it with ease. Then it starts getting tired. Then he starts, you know, then he pauses, he stops. And the coach pumps him up so much, right? I mean, and now at the end, you know, before his body collapses, this is like sheer grit, right? This is retriever's language, right? Sheer grit. He's just like, you know, and he then collapses at the end. And I don't know if the coach like tells him, you know, you're done, whatever, but he collapses. And the coach takes off his blindfold and he says, now look at where you are. And he crawled with another one of his teammates from one end zone to the next. Wow. And he said to him, don't you ever tell me what you can't do. And I heard you, and sometimes that's all you need, right? It's not that you will not perform. It's not that you, and I don't want to call it a performance, but it's not that you can't do an interview, but you just don't know what's inside of you. And so I think that was a great story. I've contextualizing it, but I think that it was a great thing that you shared, right? Like that to come into a space, if you can, or you use this podcast, or you use, you know, our Instagram page or big
whatever.
interview, all of those things to just build yourself up. Because the hardest part is showing up. Once you get there, you know what I mean? Yeah. After the interview is over, just remind yourself, like it's just like taking off that blindfold. Yeah. You made it.
I love that. You did it. Just last night, we're having Chinese food. It's just me and my two boys, 3 and 4 years old. And they only want the fortune cookies, of course. So we're opening the fortune cookies. And the fortune cookie I read last night, on par with all this, is don't let your self-doubt hold you back from your potential for greatness. Or something like that. Don't let your self-doubt hold you back from your potential for greatness. And I read it out loud, and my 4-year-old looks at me and goes, what does that mean? And I was like, how am I going to describe this? I was like, it is exactly that. I was like, remember yesterday or this morning, you told me you can't put your shoes on. You're like, I can't do this. And they say that to me all the time, right? Because they're like, I can't, Mom, you got to help me. You can't, I can't. And I'm like, that's self-doubt, right? Like, you telling yourself you can't, but like, you're holding yourself back from being great at putting on your shoes every day. Like, if you keep saying you can't, you're not going to get there. So like, thank you for that story. I'm going to go watch that movie now, but it's
Jason and
just
Giants
so
was
crazy. A fortune cookie.
Don't let your self-doubt hold you back from
Your potential for greatness.
your potential for greatness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is it, you know?
Yeah.
Whether it is writing a resume,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's going on an interview,
Yeah.
doing that personal statement, writing the cover letter,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Sometimes you
believe
just
in
need to hear
yourself.
from somebody else, though, that you can. Right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, sometimes you just need somebody else to reassure you and affirm you.
Come on, don't let us unleash hope in the unleashing the
We're
career
set the
center.
career center. That's all wrapped up in the career center.
All right, friends. Well, that was another.
Yeah.
I listen. I enjoyed our conversation. It might be real
Yeah.
sagey for some folks, but
Mhm.
it was good. And wherever you're seeing this, however you're engaging with it, I hope that we hope that it helped you in some way. If you're hearing it while you're riding on the bus,
Mhm.
while you're walking the campus, or if you're watching it on YouTube, we're getting a big following. We are.
I'm excited.
We're getting ready to be famous. I can't wait. Listen.
Jensen, are you ready?
We want the
I'm
we
ready.
want the
I'm ready.
UMBC UMBC Careers Unleashed. We need to get on the jumbotron on the side of the rack.
You know what? That's when we
That's
know.
when we hit the big time.
Yeah, we're gonna make a big time on the Jumbotron.
All right, y'all. Well, check out the show notes
Yeah,
and leave us
thanks.
some comments. We really care about you.